Bayonetta is the queen of action games. Now, I know that may be a hard pill to swallow, especially if Cooking Mama's sitting right there, but it's true. Now, do I have any proof of this? No. But what I do have are all the Bayonetta games, a big mouth, and a crippling amount of student debt. So let's go over each and every game together to see if I'm just blowing smoke or if Bayonetta's truly an action giant. So how did Bayonetta start? I mean, it's not every day you make an aura farming, joke cracking, majestic hair having badass. But for director Hideki Kamiya, it's just a regular Tuesday, producing many titles and series that are adored by fans like Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Okami, and of course, Bayonetta. His vision for this game was to have a modern-day witch be the protagonist, with Mari Shimazaki making that into reality with Bayonetta's iconic look. Her art is a treat to look at, seeing all of these different versions of what could have been our titular hero. But our Bayo still has such an iconic look as she rocks the most durable pair of glasses ever, stiletto gun heels, and some enchanting hairstyles. This all being part of the style of Bayonetta. These games are fast-paced, flashy, kickin' booty, aura farming oriented action games. So basically, you're there to be fucking awesome. These games are very similar to the Devil May Cry games, that are also all about beating up some demons in the craziest way possible. Unlike Devil May Cry, however, the need to be great at combos and the more forgiving level/enemy design makes Bayonetta the easier game to get into, in my opinion. Also, there's a pretty weighty on the cover, so that probably helps. I dance around it way too long. It's time to talk about the actual games. Starting off with Bayonetta's story, where you just play as a simple nun, doing regular nun stuff like praying, wearing glasses, killing angels, and whatever this is. Bayonetta's story actually starts a long time before we see her, being an Umbran witch who has lost her memories, with the goal of getting them back. Alongside her friends, acquaintances, partners, is Rodon and Enzo. Rodon is your friendly bartender at the Gates of Hell, who's also a weapons dealer, who's also a former god of creation. And then there's Enzo, who's a piece of shit. But these two introduce us into this crazy world with these amazing cutscenes. These are non-skippable material if you enjoy a good laugh or watching some of the most ludicrous aura forming scenes put to cinema. A big reason I enjoy these games are the cutscenes. They bring so much life to every character. Without these goofy ass parts, the game wouldn't have nearly as much heart as it does. Another thing that's really well done is the plot. Since Bayonetta's brain is still super foggy, our goal is to recover our missing memories from around the world. And on this journey, we meet even more wacky side characters like Luca, the journalist hunting down and helping us find the MacGuffin we're looking for. This guy's a riot, not only being a great comic relief character, unlike others, but also having ambitions besides just helping us makes him feel way more believable, which for this series is a hard corner to turn. But alongside our companions, buddies, travel team, we also have someone else trying to help us, being Jean, a mysterious femme fatale that knows just a little bit too much about our past, actively telling us to remember and seeming to hold back during the fights we have against her. Jean is the perfect rival to Bayonetta, allowing you to be on the other side of completely nuts attacks. Well, I don't want to give too much away about the story, especially if you find yourself wanting to play the games yourself. Just expect many moments that will either have your jaw on the floor or punching the air with pure exhilaration. Speaking of pure exhilaration, that's exactly how the combat will have you feeling. To break down the combat, it's really simple. You have your standard strong and weak attacks correlated to punches and kicks. And once an Umbran witch gets serious, they get naked?
So she takes her clothes off? I don't want that. No. I don't want that at all.
So no, they technically don't get naked here to the disappointment to gooners everywhere. Umbran witches use their hair as weapons to summon demons. This allows you to bring your massive demons to the battlefield for a short time. These naked beasts can't help you too much in combat though, as the enemies have incredibly unfair moves, with many bosses and mini-bosses having super fast projectiles and attacks that are just a pain to deal with. So one of the most fun gaming mechanics ever was put into Bayonetta's moveset to help her, being Witch Time, allowing you to slow down time after a close enough and well-timed dodge. The reason I love Witch Time so much is because it makes it easier for people bad at games, like me, as well as the amount of exhilaration I feel pulling it off. It never gets old to dodge out of the way of an attack and absolutely obliterate the sorry soul who tried it. The game does punish you for overusing it though. Just like real life, you can't dodge your way through life's problems. I think another big benefit of Bayo compared to other hack and slashers is how much time you get to perform moves do too well. Witch Time. This makes combos less necessary to still enjoy the game. My first time through, I basically just button mashed 85% of the game and didn't have too many troubles. But learning that combos does reward you with higher scores earned than levels, plus seeing the crazy moves that the Switch is able to pull off, which adds to that wanting to get better at the game. Since clearing the levels is somewhat easy if you don't care about the stupid score, doesn't mean the game is a cakewalk. I played every one of these games on medium, and this one by far gave me the most trouble. If you aren't fully attentive at all times, you're gonna get hit. That's not an if. You don't even get rest during cutscenes. There are multiple times the enemies will have these really amazing intros and do a cool move to show off what they can do. But actually, they're attacking you, idiot. I even knew these were happening and got tripped up multiple times since you get a millisecond to react before they try to attack you. That's not all though. There are also an absurd amount of quick time events that are insta-death if you don't succeed. I couldn't even begin to understand why they would put these in the game besides just being evil.
I died again for doing it!
This cruelty extends all the way to the mid-level bosses. These act like checks within the levels to see if you're still keeping up with the rising difficulty. And while some of these are nice punching bags to try out new moves and familiarize yourself with dodging and learning attack windows, there's also Grace and Glory, who are the bane of my existence.
No, please. Anyone but them.
These guys embody the most infuriating parts of the game, having multiple fast enemies with unpredictable attacks and lots of combo potentials. I truly do think these guys are harder than some of the actual bosses in the game, which we should talk about those bosses though, as I'd say this is where Bayonetta is able to shine the most. Every single big fight is an entirely different battle, having to face off against these biblically accurate angels, and if you thought the regular enemies were already creepy, wait until you see these monstrosities.
I found something even more scary than the enemies. Spray on hair!
Battling against these horrors are so fun for a bunch of different reasons. First being the scale. Every one of the stage boss fights are titans that tower over you and can cover a large amount of the screen area easily, making it very clear to the player by scale how important and strong each of these angels are. The second reason is every single one of them stands out in design and how you fight them, with the biggest standout being the smallest one of them all, being the John fights. Being able to fight basically yourself is really challenging. Since Bayonetta's moveset is absolutely broken compared to most other video game characters, these fights provide some of the cleanest moments in the game, but also some of the most fun battles as well. You're not able to take advantage of witch time in these sections, meaning it's all up to your own skill to win.
No! Don't do this to me. I don't have any skills. I'm a YouTuber.
John also being able to both block your attacks entirely and the ability to go punch for punch with you makes her feel very threatening. Every fight with a boss is a new intriguing way to see how you can beat the ever-loving crap out of them. The combat in this game is really fun, but it doesn't come away with perfect scores sadly. A lot of the worst mechanics and ideas in this game come from it being meant to be replayed again and again to go for the highest score in each level, as you get graded on your performance after every single stage based on how well you did. You need to not be getting hit, stringing together and finishing combos, and not using items to get a better score. You don't want a lame ass stone Enzo, you want that pure platinum Bayonetta. I mean, what kind of loser would get all stone trophies and wouldn't even go back through the game? The need to have the game be very difficult to get more motivation to try a level again, while not a new concept, just seems out of place for me, especially if you've played any of the sequels. From going from having a good time hacking and slashing, to seeing this ugly bastard on a screen always taunting you, it does something to you, man. I think how most people would enjoy Bayonetta 1 is not worrying about the combo system or the score at the end of the game, and it's just beating the crap out of the enemies that you see in front of you. You don't need to go for these crazy combos, but if you want that incentive, it is always there to get a pure platinum Bayonetta. At the end of the day, Bayonetta has some really high highs, but also some massive lows. Those annoying and frustrating sections are basically in every level, whether it be the worst controlling motorcycle ever, or getting insta-killed for just wanting to enjoy a beverage during a cutscene. But that all is ultimately lessened by just how enjoyable of an action game this is. Nothing can really top this combat, and the feel of the game it has over itself is immaculate. If you just enjoy a good action game, you will like Bayonetta. If you enjoy goofy cutscenes, you will love Bayonetta. And if you like Enzo, fuck you. For being the first game in the franchise and being made by a smaller team, this game didn't sell great, but it was still really well received. And after the guys at Platinum Games got some time to tinker with the mechanics and change what they wanted the game to look like, you think that this game would be instantly picked up for a sequel. Right, Sega? Sega? Sega?
Sonic, I love you. Give me a kiss. Oh, another one.
You would think a crazy, cool, and unique game like Bayonetta would instantly get picked up for a sequel, even if now Bayo is seen as a gaming icon, mainly due to her appearance fighting against certain bros. At first, the game had mediocre sales and had much more of a cult following than ultimate success. So what was Sega to do? They could fund a not very profitable, but well-received action game that showed a bunch of promise, or they could make the 90,000 Sonic game. They chose Sonic, obviously. Sega halfway through Bayo 2's development canned the project, and the game was almost completely lost until Nintendo came in to taking the franchise under their wing. Now with a bigger budget and lots more time to perfect the craft. The second installment is such a massive improvement on the first in every way. It's like going from your first shitbox car that you still love to the Ben 10 Mustang with seat warmers built in. This game starts out with a blast too. This starting level alone would sell so many people on this game. From the funny character interactions, even Enzo's decent, to the newly found vibrant colors of the series that contrast this game so much from its older sister. This game looks so much better, which is even more insane since the Wii U wasn't that much more powerful than the Wii was in terms of hardware specs. But I'm not over the starting level, as it brings us into the main story of the game, bringing Jeanne back to life after one of our own infernal demons goes rogue from our command, bringing her to the gates of hell. With the news Jeanne can only be saved in 24 hours or she's gone, Bayo sets out on an adventure to save her non-blood sister, as we see old friends like Luca and Radon, but we also have brand new friends to meet like Loki, this snarky British kid also traveling to the top of Fibbleventor, which is where both of us need to go. This kid constantly has enemies attacking him, and by him I mean us. And by us, I mean just Bayonetta. But he never fights his own battles, barely even remembers why he needs to be here. Plus he's a squirrel, and I hate squirrels. The other new character is this mysterious Lumen Sage, who often pops up throughout the story to try and take Loki away. This guy's identity is almost all story related, so while I can't give too much away, I can talk about the awesome battles against him and in the rest of the game. While the combat hasn't changed drastically from the original, there are newly added mechanics to keep you on your toes. The biggest one being the Umbran climaxes. Oh my gosh, now there's climaxes. What are you gonna tell me next? She gets her clothes scantily torn off?
Oh no.
The Umbran climaxes are massive super moves that you can build up to with your magic gauge. These moves are guaranteed to eviscerate any fodder enemies and do massive chunks of damage to bosses. Not only do these attacks do a bunch of damage, they also look freaking amazing while doing them. I think this mechanic was a great add to the series, as the magic gauge wasn't super useful in Bayo 1, only being linked to torture attacks against the non-boss enemies. It also lowers the skill ceiling for the game, as you can bring these moves out pretty consistently, with lowering the challenge level seeming to be a priority when making this game. Whether that was because they were being produced on a Nintendo console and wanting to attract a less hardcore audience, or because they saw the error of their ways making just unfun sections and enemies in the first game. Whichever option it really was, Bayo 2 is so much more fun to play with the Umbran climaxes. But no matter how much stronger Bayo looks and feels, this game is still quite a challenge, especially because of the new boss that you have to face. Not only are you fighting the Angels of Paradiso, but also the Devils of the Inferno. All of the fights are even bigger spectacles than the first game, which was already a hard thing to pull off. While the first game boss fights were still super flashy, with getting the most out of one location, Platinum Games said, fuck it, let's just make them battle anywhere. And I mean literally anywhere. On a high-speed moving train, on the side of a water tornado, in the bottom of the ocean, just to name a few. These bombastic locales, along with Bayonetta's tendency to take everything to the most extreme, make all of the boss fights incredibly memorable. Even the more uninspiring ones still have interesting setups to make them feel unique. And I'm glad to report there are no more completely annoying in-game interrupting QuickTime events. In terms of combat, Bayo 2 really took everything from Bayo 1 and upgraded it tenfold. The only slight negative of the combat are the flying sections, where instead of fighting mostly on the ground like we have been for the past 2 games, Bayo sprouts butterfly wings and takes to the skies, you know, like regular humans do. Taking to the Skies has some of the best cinematography in the background, but the combat isn't really that fun. You can't do a lot of moves due to you not being able to jump or run in these parts. So these fights are much more simple than the others in the game. I don't even think these are bad, but they definitely could have been improved upon. They could have just used 1 or 2 more mechanics that would have made these just as good as regular combat. Bayonetta 2 is basically improvement at every point, from the more vibrant art direction, better level design, less bullshittery mechanics, still keeping the best parts of the game being tight and responsive, which is the action. There's a few cool other features in the game, like being able to play as Jeanne as a palette swap, costumes for Bayo of other classic Nintendo characters, which they retroactively put in Bayonetta 1, as well as an online mode and tag climax that gives you challenges you can compete against your friends with or against bots. Everything in this game makes it amazing. All of the worst parts of Bayonetta 1 were sanded down, and what was left is one of the best action games of the 2010s. Bayo 2 is widely considered one of the best action games ever for a reason, and only 50% of that is because it was one of the 10 Wii U games ever released. So I'm sure that Bayonetta 3 will keep this trend up, and with a reveal at the start of the Nintendo Switch's life, it wouldn't be too long until we see our favorite, which again,
One eternity later.
Yo, who put a skeleton in my spot?
one of the biggest things known about Bayo 3 isn't its new gameplay mechanics or the storyline, which, phew-wee, we'll get to the story. The biggest thing is how dang long it took for this game to come out. Getting announced in 2017 during the Game Awards, and this trailer showing us absolutely nothing about the game, but we have more pressing matters to talk about, like the 5-year wait in between the game's announcement and release. Yeah, This game didn't come out until the latter half of 2022. If that wasn't enough, there were more problems for this game, at least in the public eye. The longtime Bayonetta voice actor wasn't brought back due to contract disputes. Helena Taylor wanted around 6 figures apparently, while Platinum Games said, nah, we're good. But this spread through social media at the time like a wildfire. Seeming like to many people, Platinum Games was trying to lowball one of their best actresses and not caring for the project. So this game already had a rocky road ahead of it, getting over the long wait time, as well as the bad press that Taylor wouldn't be returning. Plus the mysterious ominous ooze leaking out of the case didn't help either. Is that just my copy? So the story of Bayonetta 3 doesn't start out like the others. This time, we're thrown into the middle of a fight where we're losing. In this first part of the game, Bayo gets obliterated by Dark, Tall, and Ominous over here. And this battle isn't close at all. The creatures seem to counter everything we throw at it. With the Umbran Witch failing, we get introduced to our new character in Viola, who does nothing. Then we get back to the real story in our world, with the usual cast of characters, Bayo, Rodin, Enzo, and John. But this time we aren't fighting just regular old angels and demons. No. We're fighting these charmers known as homunculi. Nasty robot-human combination sent over by something, with Bayo and John cleaning house to get rid of them. With the classic over-the-top moves these ladies are known for still being here full swing. But here's where things get crazy, so you better hold on to something.
I'm ready.
It's a multiverse plot. Yay. We learn this from Viola, who gets transported to this world after failing in the last one, and we must assemble these hourglasses to not let that happen and have this big creep eradicate our world. I'm really sick of any multiverse plot lines. Well, the concept can be cool and lead to fun interactions in film or games. Often the media stumbles over itself just trying to bring in cool characters or locales from other universes, and not exactly diving into the story of what these other universes are, which is exactly what Bayo 3 does. It does not explore these universes, they're just set pieces to get thrown into to have different environments to get new powers. But we don't have to do it alone this time. So do we finally get to play as Rodin? OMG. I've been waiting for this since Bayo 1. Maybe we get to use his former powers as a god, or use the super cool weapons he makes.
And the Umbra Witch, John. As well as a new witch in training, Viola.
Are you kidding me? I gotta play as a Hot Topic wannabe and John? Since this game is so different from the others in quite a few ways, with 3 different characters, different gameplay mechanics, and just to spice up the commentary, I'll be splitting these into 3 mini sections, focusing on one character at a time. Starting with the worst Umbran Witch in John, who gets shafted so much in this franchise, including this game where her gameplay sections aren't even in 3D. Their 2D side-scrollers focus much more on stealth and finishing the level within a time limit than beating up bad guys, which is like the whole appeal of Bayonetta games. These sections are fine. They break up the much meatier Bayo and Viola sections, and I like the fact they at least gave John something to do here instead of her not being here at all. But these sections, they're really big pace breakers that make me want to go back to the actual game. She doesn't even get much characterization here. She starts and ends the story the same person, just with a bit more knowledge on what's happening. I wouldn't even say these are bad levels, but they are unengaging and they feel more like a plot device, just like John. Man, all the John fans are gonna be pissed at me. All 4 of them. Guess I should apologize. On to much more important characters like Viola, who at least gets 3D sections to romp around in. I'm also not really in love with her sections of the game either. At least with Jean, it's a quick few minutes before you can move on. Not with Viola though. Her sections are much longer and bring in new mechanics to the game. Instead of dodging to use witch time, you need to parry attacks with your sword, which is much tighter in terms of timing. The katana just isn't that fun to use. It feels like it has almost no weight to it, like I'm just tossing this thing around the map. And what's crazy is the Bayonetta 1 katana feels so much better. It has heft to it and has some really cool attacks attached to it. With Viola's katana not doing that much damage, plus having to parry all incoming attacks, it changes up the way you have to play a lot, and not in a good way. But that isn't the only new mechanic you have. You also can summon in Cheshire, this dumb fucking cat. Not only am I just not a fan of this design, he takes away your only weapon in your sword. And unlike Bayo summons, he's a very small guy, so his attacks hit much fewer enemies. Her gameplay just is not as fun as Bayonetta's. It was so hard to get a consistent combo at any point. None of the mechanics they put in here feel very good to pull off. They feel stiff and uncoordinated, which may have been the point, I suppose. And I'm trying to be unsettling and creepy. Neither of them are working. Well, I like Viola as an idea and her character design is sick. I think her execution in the story could have used some rewrites. A lot of rewrites. I don't think the script they gave her is incredibly good. Her conversations and interactions feel unnatural with every other character. I think they wanted her to be the everyman slash goofball, and they clash to make her feel out of place everywhere. That's not even talking about her implications within the story, which I think brings her down even more. So between 2 of the 3 protagonists, I found myself not really jiving with either of them in terms of story or gameplay. So can Bayonetta by herself make this game amazing? No, probably not. But she sure can try. Bayonetta is the best part of the Bayonetta game. Who would have thunk it? Truly, she does carry this game with some of the best hack and slash gameplay the series has to offer. Instead of the old and out of style Umbran climaxes, we get the Demon Slave system, which is basically the Umbran climaxes on steroids. Now you use the whole demon, summoning them out to fight the battles for you, just like Pokemon. Bayo just gets to stand around stylishly while the fights happen around her, since they do leave her immobile while being used. But that's a small price to pay for awesome displays of power. You can often combo your moves into the Demon Slave's abilities, allowing for so many combinations and freedom to play exactly how you want. This continues with the Demon Masquerade forms, where you fuse with one of the demons you're using, able to take on some pretty awesome designs and new powers. The transformations are something I felt should have been highlighted more, since they are so fun to play around with, and having lots of options to choose from makes it even more of a personal experience. I really like the spider one, but someone else might like the dumb fucking clock one. Within the game, everything is so much larger in scale, literally. From the massive demon slaves you fight with, to how large the environments are in between main action sections. While that scale does add some fun parts, it ultimately does take away from a lot of the actual missions that are basically the same thing every time. You get transported to a new multiverse, you find the Bayonetta of that universe, and harness the power that Bayonetta had by the end of the chapter. Rinse and repeat for about 10 chapters. Now, if these sections were interesting, I wouldn't be complaining about it. That obviously isn't the case though. It really is a slog getting through the actual story parts of the game. Every time they brought a cutscene on the screen, my mind instantly went They also added mandatory mini-games within each mission to varying levels of success. This is another part of the game that felt very tacked on, just like the Jean parts. While the other games do have some of these mini-games, they don't appear nearly as much as they do here. Most of them just aren't really what I want to be doing while I'm trying to hack and slash. Not do whatever this is. This leads to the structure being great for gameplay, while leaving the story feeling half-baked, like those oven-baked lays. They just don't hit the same. And that encapsulates a lot of my thoughts about Bayonetta 3. There are moments of brilliance, like with the main combat, which I can't sing the praises of enough, mostly when you're playing as Bayonetta. For everything else about the game, it's on a sliding scale of, hey, that's pretty good, to, please make it stop. The large empty open spaces, unnecessary minigames, and all of John's contributions all give me the feeling like they didn't have a clear direction for the game, and decided to add everything into the blender instead of selectively picking what would work best. When they aren't taking you away from the main appeal of beating up malformed creatures, the game is at its best. The action is smooth through every installment, and while not being insanely difficult, they give you a good challenge and make you feel really good about beating up major enemies. And while I did complain about a lot of stuff in here, it is my favorite pastime after all. I love these games for how unique they are compared to almost any other game out there. There are so many things these games do that many other developers wouldn't touch with a 10-foot gun heel. And that's what makes Bayonetta truly special, and why she takes home the title of Queen of Action Games. And before we go, there's actually a special announcement of Bayo 4. Let's turn it on.
Bayonetta. This is why I can't have nice things.
Well, my day's ruined. Goodbye.